Okay, take two. I was sitting here making a list of qualities I want in someone to date because I'm not very good at this single thing and I'm even worse at the dating thing. But at least I know that about myself. But as many people that know me and have known me for a while will tell you, I don't really date a lot of white men. Yeah, I know. I see the color of my skin too. It's okay. Um, I catch a lot of hell. A lot. For dating men of other races, especially black men. And it frustrates me. I am not someone who keeps quiet about race. I grew up as a minority. I did not grow up in a mostly white neighborhood. I grew up in a very, very heavily Mexican neighborhood. I'm not going to say Hispanic. It wasn't Hispanic. I'm not trying to be unpolitically correct on purpose or inflammatory. Las Cruces, New Mexico is a Mexican neighborhood. We didn't have Puerto Ricans. We didn't have Dominicans. We had Mexicans. Nothing wrong with it. Anyway, I grew up as a minority. Living as a minority will change your point of view. There's no way around that. Some people get angry. Some people accept that there's a world outside of the white male narrative. I didn't have white privilege growing up. We had a little more money than most people, so I guess I was privileged in some ways, but we weren't out of the neighborhood. We were still living next door to the Lopez's and the Sanchez's and hearing the gunshots down the street and, the drug dealers that lived 2 houses down, and it was normal to me. So after turning 12, I moved to Maine, which is incredibly, incredibly, incredibly white. At 12 years old, with a scar still on my knee from being stabbed for being white by girls I'd known most of my life, I had another classmate tell me it's not possible to be racist against white people. Yeah, that didn't go over so well with me. I've had a lot of experiences for 25 years. 25 in January, for the record. Not quite there yet. So, when it comes down to looking at people I want to date, white is not at the top of my list. I don't relate to the majority of white men. The majority hasn't experienced a lot of racism or hasn't had a lot of experience with being a minority in general. And I've had many white men I've dated say, well, if you don't talk about it, then it doesn't exist. And things along those lines, like, why are you bringing it up if it doesn't matter? The fact of the matter is that ignoring something doesn't make it go away. Talking about it is not a bad thing. I've sat in multiple public places and had full-blown conversations, just half an hour long, with people I'd never met before about race, about various experiences I've had as a white woman. And I'm not completely white for the record, but that's what everyone sees. I had these conversations with people. There was an experience I had in South Korea when I was stationed there. I went into the store on post, and I was with a black friend of mine, male. And there was one of the primarily black sororities that was handing out flyers for a child fundraiser that they were doing, trying to raise toys for children. And this woman physically pushed me out of the way to hand the black male I was walking with a flyer for this event. And he kind of looked confused for a second and then said, "Oh, look at this." And I said, "No, my money's apparently not good enough." Was that a fairly abrasive way of handling it? Yeah, probably. But it got the point across. And there was no violence, there was no angry conflict, there was no discussion whatsoever that followed between me and her. And I didn't really want there to be, because I think that sentiment alone opened her eyes. she realized that what she had done was racist. The color of her skin doesn't make her immune to being racist. There's no skin color that makes you immune to ignorance. There's not. And talking about something is the only way to avoid ignorance. Not getting somebody else's perspective on something. Not being willing to hear what other people have to say about your words, your actions, your thoughts is ignorance. Not being willing to look at the rest of the world. Not being willing to see what they've experienced or what they've thought, what they've felt, what they want you to know about them, about their experiences, about what it's like from their side of the world. That's ignorance. Everybody has a story to tell. I'm not saying you have to talk to everybody or listen to everybody. What I'm saying is pretending it's not there. Pretending not telling your children that race is an important part of your identity, but it's the differences that make us special, not unequal, not less, not more. Not being able to talk to your children about that makes them think that it's not okay. It's not a good thing. The only things you hide from your kids are the things you're scared of them seeing. Sexuality when they're young. You don't ever want to tell them about that. It terrifies you. Race is the same way. The only parents I know that ever talk to their kids about race are the children who experience racism. What the hell is that about? They're preparing their children for something they might experience, but white folks aren't setting their child up to handle what they might see. Racism works all directions. All directions. But giving your child the message that this isn't something that's okay to talk about tells them it's bad. Tells them it's not something that is okay to think about, to face. It's something that they should fear. That's wrong. That's wrong. I don't want my child growing up being scared of somebody because they have darker skin. I don't want them observing that it's mostly kids with darker skin that eat lunch at school, or that it's mostly whiter kids that ride the bus, random things like that. I don't want them observing that on their own and thinking that that's what divides the world. There's plenty of things that divide the world as it is. Money alone is a huge contributor to every issue we have, if you ask me. But ignorance can be avoided. It can be changed. Anyone who is willing to open up their mind and their ears for a second to hear what the rest of the world is going through, that's all it takes. It's not that hard. So I'm sure I'll have plenty more experiences with black men and the people who don't like me dating them. And now that I'm back on the border of Mexico, which is home to me, I'm sure I'll have plenty of experiences with dirty looks because I'm dating a Hispanic man or, whoever I choose to date, because they're not likely to be white. And I'm okay with that. I just hope the rest of the world understands that my choice and who I date isn't a choice I made out of ignorance, because I'm willing to hear what the rest of the world has going on. I'm not scared to talk about it. I'm not scared to face the fact that I may appear the majority. I may appear privileged. I may not look like one of those people that sits in front of TV and goes, why is there only one black dude in this show? Oh, he's playing the bad guy. That's awesome. Those are things I notice. A lot of people don't. A lot of parents of children of color do not have an easy time finding books with kids of different colors in them. Go to a store and try to find a children's book with an Asian character, a black character, and a white character. Try. it's very difficult to find any exposure to multiracial anything is very difficult. I'm not going to be ignorant, and I don't mind putting myself out there to start that dialogue. People may not always like what I have to say. People may not like that I'm the one who has to say it. That's okay. I've got strong shoulders. I've been through worse. But it's time to start getting people to talk. And if it takes one white girl to start the conversation, listen up, because I don't mind talking.